So the big question is this: how do investors like us who don't have a PhD in finance or millions to start investing, how do we grow our bank accounts to build real savings and retirements and yet still have the time to do what we really love? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer.
Hey guys, Sean Wooten here. Welcome to Stock Market Series podcast. Super excited today. I want to talk to you about three super cool things that I've been just kind of learning and realizing over the past 48 hours that are kind of big mistakes and interesting things that have happened as over the course of a couple of trades. So hopefully you can take the knowledge and apply what I'm talking about here, and not have to make the same mistakes that I just kind of went through with myself and with some of the mentees and mentors I trade with. And so it's just a lot of interesting stuff that can make you a lot of money if you start applying it. So hopefully this helps you guys out a whole lot, because it's really cool stuff. So probably the first thing is everyone's switching over right to TD now, right? That the trades are free and Thinkorswim's so amazing, and it's super cool to see all the brokerages kind of competing in the same playing field now. And so I'm just doing all my final transfers of funds and moving all my cash, my assets to Thinkorswim. And so I made it's been a while since I've been trading directly with TD, and so it's super great. It's an amazing feeling to come back to, because they are so freaking good. It's just insane, and I love it. And what happened? Well, see, I'm doing this trade on BNGO. It's a biomed pharmaceutical company, and they released some new drug, or they're doing testing for a new drug, which is the coolest thing ever, right? And it's just a really awesome news. That is the best news possible for a 9-to-noon stock, and usually it means it's going to do some really freaking awesome stuff. And so BNGO is no exception. I was sort of I was going 50-50. I wasn't all in on the market yesterday because there was a CS test in 2 hours, and so kind of had to study for that. So obviously you want to be focused, and you guys know that. So that was my bad. I was being a doofus. And so these guys, they've been up about 175%. They were the top gainer for the whole day. And they were trending down a little bit, And so, I wasn't really paying attention to it. I had it up on the charts. This is why it's so important to have a lot of screen real estate, so you can have, charts that you can passively watch just in case something cool happens. And so I see it. I didn't have enough screen real estate. So I was studying for the CS test, so all my studying materials kind of took up one of my screens. And so I just nonchalantly go back to the screener for a couple of seconds intermittently and pull up the chart. And these guys had, tick back up, and all of a sudden they went through the VWAP, right? They went through the VWAP, and by the time I found them, they had actually been circuit breakered for about 2 minutes, because they went up so freaking much, so quickly. And so they went above the VWAP, got halted, and I'm oh crap, this is going to be good, right? Because breakthrough on the VWAP. I saw that they had news. That's a really good setup. Because usually you want to buy the VWAP breakthrough, but I was too slow for that. So it comes out of the halt, and so often. I've seen this so much. These stocks, they'll come out of halts, and it's scary, right? Because they have these big dips for the 1 minute that they come out of the halt. And sometimes you get scared, right? Because it's these guys could seriously get messed up if something good doesn't happen here. And it's a legitimate concern. Hey, I don't really want to lose all my money. And so in the 1 minute after the halt, they erase a lot of their gains down to the VWAP. And it's a little bit sketch, right? Because you don't really know what's going to happen. You don't know if they're going to reverse. These halts, they mess people up. But the candle closes after the halt opens at the same price that it opened at. And so it closes flat, and then the next one's green, just crush it. I didn't really get in after the halt. Again, just a little bit of hesitancy. And it's a little bit, scary. If you're holding through it, it's cool. You have your stop loss. But if you're just getting into a position, it's just a little sketch. Because the VWAP breakthrough is really, really cool, but it's also a huge, huge, huge red candle after that halt. And so I leave it alone, and then after about 6 minutes, so it goes up and up and up, and it gets halted again. So it went up so much, it got halted again, which is huge. And so I'm just chilling out, and it's about 155. It went up another like 20-30% in about 2 seconds flat, which is like insane. And then I'm like, all right, crap, what's this thing gonna do? And it's cool is after the next 5-minute hold, it comes out of the position, right? And it taters down, it taters down, it taters down. And then it bounces and consolidates to the VWAP. And then it's sliding up, and you can see like it's an ABCD setup. And the A had been the initial breakout over the VWAP. The B was just this consolidation. It was in the C, like right now. And so I do a conditional order, and I say, yo, if this is it, 155, which is where like the aggressive entry point, sort of midway through the C is, I'm like, bam, get me in this thing. I want it bad. And within the span of like probably 25 seconds, it hits that price point, right? And so, bam, I'm in. And it's awesome, right? It's this idea that like you have to stick with your guns and with what you say and what you believe, and just get in hard. And so this is like, I was like super excited. It's my first trade with TD in a long time. And so we're getting, it's so, it goes up for like 10-15 cents. And I'm like, all right, sweet. Let me up my stop loss to break even. So I up my stop loss to break even. And because it's just a normal ABCD setup stop loss at the low, or like at the A. And so it goes up and up, and I up my stop loss again to like 5 cents over where I bought it. And this is a problem I've been having, like when I'm just getting started with like a new platform, or when I'm a little bit too tight, is I'll have my stop loss just a little bit too tight, and it's just a really, really bad thing to do, right? Because you need to give yourself time to run. With this setup, I was looking at about a 7% risk with a 24% reward. Or not 24, a 46% return reward. So it was like already a 6-to-1 reward ratio. It was like really, 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 really good. And I had totally eradicated my downside when I upped my stop loss to break even. And again, it's about a 50% upside, which is like super cool. It's just based on the ABCD setup. And what's crazy is like, okay, so I go through it, and like, I know that you gotta go hard. You have to stick with it, right? And so what I do is I just up the stop loss like another 4 or 5 cents, which was like ridiculous. And it's just this big problem is like increasing your stop loss too quickly, and not letting stuff work out. And I thought it'd be cool. I thought it would work. But the bottom of like the next candle, like just like the wick, like the bottom of the wick, hits my stop loss. And it stops me out, and I take like, a $20 profit or something like that. And it sucked because as soon as that happened, like over the next 10-20 minutes, the stock went up like 50. It went up 50%, like I thought it would, 48%. And then it kept going and going and going and going. And over the course of the rest of the day, it basically it doubled, which is like insane, right? And so it just kind of, and usually what I'll do is like with ABCD setups, especially if they're like high momentum, high volatility, I'll usually sell about half at the target. And I probably wouldn't have been that ballsy. They had a pretty huge pullback, so I'd probably be out average cost or average sell price, about 260. So half at 2, which was the target, and half at 2.6, which was one of their next highs before they had a big pullback, and then they bounced up to like $4. And you're looking at a pretty sizable gain left on the table, and it's kind of all because like I just like increased the stop loss a little bit too much right at that last second. And so like huge thing to take away from here, right? So you need to just like give your stuff time to work out. And when you set a stop loss, definitely like I'm a proponent of increasing it to break even. But when you set a stop loss, like just like give it time, right? And let it sit there. Because like if you're willing to lose that much money, or you're willing to break even or whatever at the beginning, or 5 minutes ago, then like in 5 minutes in the future, why shouldn't you be willing to let that thing go? because so often I was reading this really cool book about the art of execution. It's really awesome, and like they talk about this idea that the people who do really, really bad are the ones who like cut their winners really early, and they stop themselves from letting their winners run. And that's like not what you want to do with a stop loss. The goal of the stop loss, right, is to get you out of a bad trade, and it's not to like screw you over and squeeze you out of a really good trade, because like you have price targets, right? Price targets based on technical setups, and it's got to make sure like you leave that stop loss where you set it, and just let it work out. You just don't want to be too frantic, and you want to let the crap happen. And so that's like a big thing. Like you can change it once, set it to break even or something if you start to have a really good trade. But you don't want to like keep increasing it so tightly. I mean, I was like within probably a couple of percentage points of the actual price where I put my stop loss. And so like, it's just a ridiculously dumb thing to do because like stocks, they're volatile, right? So they go up and down. You don't want to be too close to that with your stop loss. You can get messed up. All right. Awesome. Okay, so the second thing that was really, really, really cool that just kind of happened like a couple of minutes ago. So like one of my mentees, he gave me a call and he was talking to me about Netflix. And Netflix, he recently did a trade on American and they were kind of trending down. And so he saw Netflix and they were trending down. And the economy right now, it's pretty like hard, right? And so there's like a lot of bearish sentiment. And I was looking at Netflix. They reported earnings yesterday. It's like, I don't know, probably 10 hours. It's like 2 a.m. right now, so I don't know. It's like after the bell. And so as he's going through this process, he's buying puts right before the earnings report, right? Because he thinks they're going to go down a whole bunch. And, you're looking at basically like, 5xing your money if you're right on these puts. Based on, the technical price target that was just based on support resistances and the trend lines. And like, oh man, it was just a shame. So he buys these puts and then I get these puts, right? And like, I'll put my money where my mouth is, faith in him. And I don't know, everyone just lost a whole lot of money, which kind of sucks. Because they like crushed earnings and then they, went up like a whole bunch. I think it's like 10% so far, and 10% in options is like a bajillion percent. And so the value of those puts just like plummeted. And like you got to remember, right? No matter how good the setup's, like earnings reports are like 50-50 chances, right? And so like the strat is to do a straddle. So you have puts and calls. And even though it might eat up like half of your profit, or even though it might be a little bit more expensive to set up, you're still going to have massive growth as long as there's a really big movement like there was in Netflix after the report. Excuse me. And so you just kind of have to stick with straddles for earnings reports and not like one-sided thing because you just don't know. And yes, there were technical indicators that it was going to go down, but there were also like the MACD and the stochastics on the weekly were like seriously bullish. And we just kind of overlooked that and went straight for puts and tried to leverage a lot of gain. But with earnings reports, you just really don't know. And so like definitely just using options to leverage earnings reports volatility. You want to make sure that you go with a straddle, even if it does cost a little bit more. Like doubling your money is still really good. Or tripling it or quadrupling it instead of quintupling it. I mean, like that's still really good. And it's going to save you from losing in every single in like vast majority of situations, right? Because you make money whether it goes up or down. And it just seems to be significantly volatile. And so, yeah, I mean, a lot of people got hurt on that one today, and I don't want you guys to. And so make sure, like, as you go into these earnings reports, you're doing straddles, not just like one-sided options, because like you can be the smartest person on the planet, but like unless you have insider trading information, there's basically like it's 50-50. And it's always like been a 50-50. Because there's this idea that like, they could bounce off the trend line, and that's what he was focusing on was this trend line, but they could also bounce through that trend line. And so it's just a tough place to be, and you want to make sure that you straddle it. So really wish I did that. It would have made us a lot of money. But yeah, I don't know. A lot of cool chances to make a lot of money. Like the market is just so freaking cool. I love it. It's just like money's everywhere. And so like that's this third thing that I want to talk to you about today. Is it like, I'm doing this seminar. I got to go and I got to record a whole bunch of it this morning. About how to win friends and influence people and like My Little Pony and all these things that have like fundamentally changed every aspect of my life by giving me social skills and personal discipline, and it's just insane. And one thing we talk about so much is this idea that like you have to care, but not that much. And like I know we got screwed over really hard in like the last 48 hours. A lot of chances I could have had to make a whole lot of money. Like I gotta care, right? But not that much. And that mentality it kind of manifests itself this morning. I set the I went to bed at again I'm doing some really like sick recording stuff, and to get the studio I have to be in the morning. I have to be at the studio really early in the morning because like they use it during the day for class, right? And so I'm filming from like midnight to like 4 or 5 or 6 in the morning every single day. And so I'm going to bed at like 2 or 3 or 4. So I like went to bed at like 4 or 5 last night after I finished some work I needed to do. And I was supposed to get up at like 1 this morning, but my phone didn't go off for some reason. And so like because of that, like my alarm didn't go off, and I like naturally woke up at 2. And like you got to get up and realize that like it's not a big deal and you can't really care. And like some people, they get stressed out when they wake up late, or they're worried about sleeping in. And for me, like I used to be like that until I started like waking up every single day at 4 in the morning, and going to bed at 8. And like everything changes because you're on your own time schedule and you're on your own accountability schedule. Because so many people, they sleep more than 8 hours a night just because they have messed up sleep cycles. And so if you just like sleep at the same time every night, you can like generate a ton of time in your life and take control over your mornings and do like really cool things. And so it's like this idea that like it's not a huge deal, right? And then the world keeps moving and everything keeps going on. I wake up at 2, not a big deal. It cuts into an hour of the studio time. It's okay, not a big deal. We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna make it work. We're gonna get it done, because you can get whatever you want done in any time period that you desire. And it just comes down to the way you perceive it, and kind of more importantly, like this idea that like, if you have a certain amount of time, you have certain things to get done, you'll make it happen. And you just can't really worry too much about it. So a lot of like really good like psychological shifts and mental breakthroughs today. And I hope you guys take these and apply these and make a whole bunch of money with them. And start to realize that like as soon as you take control of like your life and you start to own it on your own schedule, just like working around the 9 to noon workday, like everything changes, right? And stress just disappears. Like usually I'd be freaking out about all this money we just lost, or I'd be freaking out about sleeping in, at least like 4 or 5 or 6 years ago. But now is like, I'm just constantly in a state of tranquility. I think meditation twice a day helps, and like reading long-term goals twice a day helps. But like I just know that like it's gonna work out. And so that's sort of the idea, that you want to have like a positive filter on everything that you do, so that every time something happens to you in life, you just say, you know what, it's not a big deal, it's going to work out. And I'll finish up with this one example because I kind of have to go and do some recording for you guys. We're doing the second upsell for the book with this course, which is going to be super exciting. So Nathan, yesterday, he took this math test. And halfway through this math test, he kind of prods his head up in the air, and he's looking around and looking at everybody. And what's weird is like he's like stretching all over the place, and his TA or whatever looks at him and says, "Hey, you stop looking around, stop looking at everybody, go to the back of the room." And so he goes to the back of the room, he finishes his task, he comes home. He's like freaking out because he thinks he's gonna get a 0 because he thinks that they thought he was cheating, but like they didn't say he was cheating, and they didn't like pull him aside and say, "You're cheating, you're getting a 0." And so he has like no reason, like really, that like family says he's gonna get a 0. And as I'm getting home, finish up this work before I go to bed, and he spends like 2 hours just like freaking out to like all our other roomies. It's like a quad, and we split it half and half. So like, and so like all he's doing is focusing on the negative and focusing on like the bad things, and screaming and whining and saying like, trying to get sympathy and a feeling of significance from others. But kind of like more importantly, he's just like freaking out. And saying that it's going to be the worst thing ever and how bad it's going to be and all this bad stuff. And like it's this idea that like you can put a spin on how you perceive your world and your reality. And for me, like I could have freaked out this morning or today or yesterday about all these bad things that happened, but like you just don't worry about it, right? Because you only focus on the positive things and you totally forget the crap that doesn't matter, the negative things. Especially like, he doesn't have any control over how his teachers are going to grade his papers. And after he turns it in, like it's completely out of his control. And so you have to sort of just like totally forget about things that aren't in your control, like your past, right? Like I can't control when I wake up, after I wake up, like that's in my past and it's just nothing I can do about it. And so you want to like focus on what matters and then put like this positive light on everything and like totally ignore all negativity and just things that you can't control. Because by him focusing and stressing on this, first of all, like what you focus on, like what you think about, you attract in your life. And so like I think for sure he like increased the chances that he gets a bad grade just because he's like focusing on how bad his grade's going to be, versus like I had this test yesterday in CS and I woke up to the teacher and she says, "How'd you do?" I said, "I got 100%. It's going to be your new answer key." And she's like, "Of course, got it, 100%. Thanks so much for helping out and making it easy to grade." And like it's this idea of like having total and complete confidence in yourself and complete positivity versus going through life negatively and thinking about how bad things are going to be and what's going to fail. Because when you think about what fails, like stuff freaking fails. But when you think about all the positive growth you're going to have and how you're going to do so much better in the future and how you're going to reflect on yourself and succeed, guess what? You start to freaking have massive success. And so please, like take this and don't care that much about your failures and sort of forget about them, right? As fast as possible. Like learn from them, right? Move on from them. Like some of the best football players in the world, what do? They film themselves, they film their games, and then they go over all the mistakes that they made so that they can fix those mistakes and then forget about their failures, right? And so like definitely like reflect and grow, but like don't freak out and don't stress out and don't put your like hatred and anger and scarcity or what was going through Nathan's mind. And like those emotions are literally like poisonous. They will crush you, right? And so you just have to sort of abolish them and focus on positivity, focus on the growth, and be living in the present and stop worrying about the past because it just doesn't freaking matter. I don't know. I know a lot of people, and myself included, that have a lot of excuses on like why their past sucks and why the failures and blah, 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 blah. Like don't worry about it. Just focus on the now and just be happy and be in that state. And it's so powerful. A lot of really, really great mentalities. So thank you guys so much for listening. I'm going to eat some breakfast and go and record these seminars and courses. And it's going to be super exciting. It's going to change people's lives. And I'm so excited about it. So make sure you guys go out there and crush it. Have the best day ever. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.
Woo! Want more stock market secrets? If so, go get your free copy of my best-selling book, 9 to Noon. You can get your free copy plus $11,176 of unannounced bonuses it took me years to uncover completely for free at 9tonoonsecrets.com. Inside 9 to Noon, you'll find the top 38 secrets you can use to double your portfolio every 2 years and make upwards of 10% per trade daily.